So, how much cash do you actually need to invest in real estate? I'm going to end the debate today. Lots of people talk about this. Do you need a lot of money? Do you need to save up? Do you need no money? Well, here's the reality: you don't need as much money as you think. When I got started in this business, I was 21 years old. I didn't have much money at all. I had something like $5,000 saved up. I was an intern at John Deere. And so I didn't have the resources that a lot of people have starting out in real estate. With that said, I will also say the mentees that I have and the investors who I know that do put a focus on their income and do put a focus on their cash are more successful than the ones that don't. And then additionally, the ones who do have cash, they don't need the absolute perfect deal in order to move forward on a real estate deal. And also they can weather those storms better and with less stress. And so they last a lot longer, they can purchase more deals, and they can weather storms. But with that said, most people think that you need a pile of cash to get started in real estate. So when I got started, I had no money. I rented an apartment here in the city with one of my friends. I slept on a couch in the family room with him, not in the same couch, on separate couches in the family room. And so we had the kitchen in the family room that was sort of one room. That's where we slept. And then we Airbnb'd our bedroom. So I Airbnb'd my bedroom downstairs. He Airbnb'd his bedroom upstairs. Our rent was $525 each. Our rent total was $1,050. And the Airbnb covered the cost of that $525 for me for the entire 2 years that I lived there. And then I eventually met my girlfriend, my now wife. We were able to split costs a little bit. That helped me, and the rest is history. But I kept my living expenses low. I didn't have a car payment. I had a job at a restaurant called Hoo Hot Grill, and they gave us a meal every single shift. And then I was a sales engineer, and so my lunches were paid for by taking other clients out to eat. So my cost of living, as you can imagine, was very, very low. And that allowed me to take every single dime that I was making from my engineering job and just dump it into real estate. And especially when I had the hard money lending costs, or if construction jobs didn't quite go as planned, I was somewhat able to weather those storms because every single dime that I had was in real estate. Now, if when I started, I actually had some savings, let's say I had 25 grand in the bank, or 50, or even 100, my life would have been a lot easier and a lot less stressful. There were some circumstances that I had to go to my properties myself. My dad was able to help me. My good friends were able to help me, where I was actually swinging a hammer, painting my own properties, and laying my own flooring because I couldn't afford a contractor. And so that work ethic and grit, combined with an obsessive learning the game, learning the creative finance strategies to get into real estate, the BRRRR method, partnerships, private money, hard money, all these different strategies, that combined with my work ethic, I was ultimately able to make it work. So if you're listening to this and you don't have money and you want to get into real estate, you can 100% do it. I did it. Hundreds, if not thousands of people do it all the time. So it is possible. With that said, money can be like gunpowder. If you have that money, or gasoline, if you have that money, you can accelerate your path to success much more quickly, right? If you could just put 20% down on properties, obviously you're going to grow a lot faster. Or if you have that money for hard money loans so that you can do multiple deals at a time, or to weather storms, you are just simply going to grow a lot faster. So what I think the best approach is, obviously you could be as extreme as I was. I had fun with it. Other times were not fun at all. Other times were very stressful. If you want to take that approach with no money, you absolutely can. But if I could go back in time, I would have focused probably less on the creative strategies and more on income. So if you're watching this and you're an entrepreneur, or you desire to be an entrepreneur, or you desire to be an investor, if I could go back in time, I would put more focus on income. So I would be thinking, what are some side hustles that I can do? What are some things that I could do on the side that can produce income? And if I were to go back in time, I would do some things that revolve around real estate. So if you're out there and you have your real estate license, a great way to make some side income is through leasing. So you can offer your leasing services to other real estate investors. And so now not only are you learning a very important part of property management, but you're also producing some income on the side. If it's serving, if it's selling something online, whatever it is, I would put a massive focus on your income. And for those of you who are doing your leasing in-house rather than hiring a property manager, your success is going to be correlated to your response time and your customer service. So if you have a property manager and you're not getting the results that you'd like for your leasing, or if you're leasing your properties and you're not getting the results you would like, I assure you that if you focus on your response times and just how you're responding to your prospects, that's going to make a huge difference. Obviously, making sure that your property's priced right, keeping it slightly below market, and then making sure that your product is good, that it's clean, that it's showable. All of those things are going to be really, really important. So yeah, in conclusion, you don't need nearly as much money as you think. I would put a focus on your income. One thing that served me really well is I didn't become guilty to lifestyle creep. So a lot of people, as they produce more income, as they start to get abundance, their lifestyle starts to increase with that financial abundance. And that's a massive mistake, because the longer that you can delay that lifestyle creep, the longer that you can keep your expenses the same and your income up, the more prosperous you're ultimately going to be. And so to me, it's very worth it to wait just a few more years and keep those expenses the same and continue to increase your income and continue to invest that money, because one day, 3 to 5 years from now, you really can have a really, really good lifestyle. And I'm not someone who recommends just completely living below your means until the day that you die. I think you should have some fun. That's the whole point of doing all of this. If you're not enjoying it, what's the whole point? But I do think just a slight delay in that lifestyle creep, or in buying that, especially if it's materialistic, that nicer car, that nicer house, I do think that slight delay is going to make you happier. You're going to be a better business person, and it will be worth it. The other thing that I notice is the people who are more frugal in their personal lifestyle are also more frugal in business. It's very easy in business to get lost in all these different ways to spend money. So if you're starting a business, you can spend a bunch of money on a beautiful website, on SEO, on your business cards, on a cool polo shirt and hat, on signs. There's all sorts of ways, on your bookkeeping, attorneys, all these things that you can spend so much money on, when the most important thing when you're starting a business is to produce income as quickly as possible. And so for me, even to this day, the frugality that I had in my personal lifestyle is translating to my business. And so hiring VAs where it makes sense, the hourly rates are much lower. They actually work very, very hard. They're great workers. So I get a productivity hack and my costs are lower. My labor and materials for my jobs, I'm always looking at ways, whether it's bringing that labor in-house or purchasing the materials from particular vendors to try to keep my costs low. I'm very aware of my costs. And then from everything from construction to property management, everything in between, I'm very aware of keeping my costs low. And it's very easy to become more lenient with those things as you start to make more money. And that could be a really big mistake. So, do you need money to invest in real estate? The answer is no, you do not. But if you don't have money, you're always going to be looking for those perfect deals, and you're going to be limited. So if you're watching this and you don't have money, I do recommend you learn the game of real estate. I do recommend that you get started, but I also recommend putting a focus on your day job, on your side hustle. Don't quit your day job from day one and just go full-time real estate unless you have an active income business that you can rely on. What I did was I kept my 9 to 5 until the cash flow that I made was actually double than what I was making as an engineer. And then it made all the sense in the world to quit, buy my time back, and go full time into real estate.